Hello. In this roughly 20-minute clip of the CMAT education project, exercise track number 3 kickoff, you're going to hear in the first 5 minutes some of the challenges of using Essence to teach newbies. In the next 5 minutes, you're going to hear a very interesting discussion on the use of Essence to teach engineering thinking. That'll be followed by about a 3-minute discussion on options to use tools with Essence. And then we conclude with another 5 or 6 minutes on some of the challenges of using Essence as a systems engineering kernel. Hope you enjoy the exercise track kickoff clip. Thank you.
Point that I've heard out of the discussion so far, and that makes sense to me. Then on the other hand, we have this concept of essentializing practices, which effectively means that in order for, this idea that we've just heard of taking something and essentializing it, such as one of the case studies, would be a very interesting exercise for someone to demonstrate their understanding of what it means to essentialize something, but isn't that a step too far? If we talk about people at the newbie level who are probably, whatever experience they do have, will probably be with the use of development tools of one sort or another to try and produce working software. And will the exercise of trying to essentialize a case study really relate to them? Because as much as the Essence kernel is this abstraction which they can't quite relate to, how would they relate to the case study and what it means to essentialize it?
I agree with what you say, and there is a dilemma here, because we try to convince people or practitioners and later students that essentializing their life will bring them to an environment where the solutions will come up better and faster. Okay, so if we convince people that that Essence is a good language to speak when you describe your problems, then you'll be better on your solutions. But if you come to newbies, of course they don't appreciate it, because you cannot teach abstraction before people have some grasp of the real things. So in the first place, for newbies, it can be, Essence can be introduced as something that, look, this is the language. Later on, you will know why it is good, but now I would like you to use this language and try to solve problems in this language. Later, we can go back to the abstraction of turning real life or natural language problems into Essence.
Other thoughts on this? Anyone?
I have heard this now from other people as well, that the Essence may be abstract to start with too early. There was one lady from Hana Octava in Mexico who felt it would be hard to use the book for newbies. That even that has been our ambition. We have worked very hard, and we have discussed it over and over again to make the book available and attractive to newbies. It may be necessary to have something as an introduction to basically the idea of Essence. Maybe we need a part or something like that that is accompanied with many exercises before they actually can appreciate the value of essence. It's absolutely right. To really understand an abstraction, you need first have some concrete stuff. So that is true for basically everything.
Yeah, I would say that I would love to. Excuse me?
No, go ahead, Amir.
Yes, I would love to be able to teach first-year students two things in parallel. One is programming, is just to learn the techniques of programming, and the other one is engineering thinking, which is very well expressed by Essence. And then in a later stage, when they understand the engineering thinking on one hand and the programming on the other hand, then we can bring those together and reconnect them and tell them, look, they connect to each other, and then they can have the full stack of the thing. Unfortunately, I think that in many places, no software engineering students learn a basic course on engineering principles. And this is something that will lack very much in all. Of course, you cannot find it in computer science faculties, and you hardly can find something like this in software engineering faculties if they are different at all. But this is missing, and I see that programmers, they start from programming, and they come, even after the years they come to practice, they still don't have a solid engineering thinking. And CMAT can help a lot with the engineering thinking, and then put it on top of programming as a holistic software engineering practice.
I also have a comment on systems engineering. Have you seen a book that Bud Lawson and I were co-editing, titled Software in the Systems Context? It is a book with, I think it was a collection of authors, maybe up to 20. And there were a couple of chapters where we discussed how to use Essence in the context of systems engineering.
Mm-hmm. No, I haven't seen it, but I would love to look at it because it makes sense that this is the right thing. I have my own. I published a little bit, not books, but in conferences about software engineering with system thinking. So I have some ideas about. I think that this is very, very important. I would say that one of the things, because I see. Where do I see it? I see it when I come to the industry, and believe me, sometimes it is really, I don't know if frustrating or funny, when a big defense company invites me to give a 7-day course of, listen good, software engineering for software engineers. That's absurd, because they don't have the engineering practice. They are good programmers. They are even very good UML drawers, not modelers, because they don't know what's the difference between a drawing and a model. It is sometimes really frustrating, and I ask them, do I contribute anything? To say yes, the methodology, how to use it, how to do engineering on top of it. So I think that regardless of the philosophical, I don't know if it is philosophical, but the abstract discussion, exercises are very, very important. And I personally would love to contribute to both types of exercises, regardless of whether they are for students, for first year, third year, practitioners, or whatever. But they need to be of two types. One is to essentialize case studies, and the other one is to solve problem in with essentialized case studies.
Yeah, that that resonates with me, and I hadn't heard it expressed as you're expressing it now, Amir. But that distinction is right. I think that's right on. Those are two distinct areas, and it's the second area where they'll really see the value. And I think Barry was pointing out whether the first step, that's the conundrum as to when they're ready to do the first step, or if they have to just take it by faith when we say there's value in essentializing a case study, or do we just, is that something we do? Do we do? But that goes back to the point. If they, by essentializing it, we can understand if they really understand essence. But they may not know why they're doing it. They may not know the value of it yet, because you have to get to the second step, right?
Yeah. But sometimes, you know, that from pedagogical aspects, you look at things different than from practical aspects. When you teach something, sometimes you teach a thing that you do later in the life cycle in order to understand the other things. I have a technical question, Paul. Is there any tool that supports editing or graphical editing of the Essence language, of Essence diagrams or alphas or whatever? Because if I want to sit down and start to essentialize some of my exercises, do I have any tool to do this?
Well, there is a tool that IJI, Ivar's company, has that can be used to essentialize practices. So
I would appreciate if you could share with us such a tool. So because I would like, beside talking, I would like to sit down and start doing some work to feel it through my fingers to see what is in it.
This tool will be available to everybody who is going to do something for the book or for the book. Yeah. So and it's not only there are basically two tools. One is for writing practices and compose them into a method, and then there is another tool to have a practice exchange, so people can have their practices, and it's basically a practice library support tool.
Right.
So and these tools are you know, I'm not CEO for the company. I'm just they call me the fucking chairman. So and I believe there is a good reason for that nickname. But I know they have agreed to make it available.
I think we need it if we really want to sit down and do some practical job in writing exercises. I think that we need those tools.
Yeah, yes. Ivar, maybe this would be a time, and we can take this offline. We were trying to set up a meeting to get a demonstration of the tool, and I think because Sumit got ill, that got pushed out, because we were going to show it to the management team. Yeah, and we delayed it. Maybe this is a good time to reinitiate that and show it to more people on the book project as well.
So if you can record such a demonstration and then distribute it so we can watch and see how it works, it would be like a sort of a webinar or something.
Yes, absolutely.
Great.
So one other point before I forget it, Ivar had mentioned, and I think it might have been Barry who put a note about the book that Ivar referenced. Amir, you made the comment that if you there is one place the word software shows up, and that's in the 1-alpha software system. And I think you made the comment, if you just took that out, it really is a great tool for systems thinking. And
for any engineering, any development endeavor.
That's very interesting you say that, Amir, because many years ago, I think it's 4 or 5 years ago, so it's not so many, but when I was in Russia, there was a professor, now I don't remember his name, he said he thinks Essence is a good kernel for any kind of engineering, any kind of product, any kind of service. I mean, anything you want to develop. So you can apply Essence even when you develop Essence.
I'll tell you my point. I'm trying to do the last year, so quite many years now, is I'm trying to convince people that there are no software systems on themselves, and most of the systems today are software intensive systems. And Essence is, I think, because I don't want to include all the systems, I don't want to include buildings or bridges or other things that should be or can be considered a system. But software intensive systems, it's very important to say, because software does not live on itself. Because if you say software system, then it is an application or it is a web application. But software intensive system is a system that contains a lot of software, but software itself is not the system, not the entire system. So I think that if we could change it a little bit from software to software intensive systems, I think that people will start to understand that we are talking about systems and not only about programming and things around programming. So this is a concept change.
Yeah. So the point, and I can tell
you, this is being OMG has a task force for a revision of Essence. And that task force will probably result in a new RFP, which actually has exactly that purpose. So,
and to just
it has to be,
yeah. And just to follow on that, the other point I was going to make is in that book that Ivar referenced, there is an article that actually I co-authored with Ivar and Bud, where it said, what would you have to do to, basically it's about how would you take Essence and move it on to a systems kernel. And fundamentally what we said was you would just have to take the word software out of the software alpha, the software system alpha. And that was interesting because that was the same conclusion we had reached, that all of the other points, the checklists and states, are more system thinking, not just software thinking. So,
but what I introduced now is that I propose another change, not to take out software, but insert the word intensive. So it holds for software intensive systems.
Yeah, that's another. That would be another approach. Yeah.
Okay. You know, if I could just comment, one of the things that we've certainly learned over the years in many of these debates about Essence is the, you know, the elusive, or the sort of the way in which Essence is so simple, sort of on the surface, that it appears as if it is easy to grasp and understand and easy to adapt for other purposes, like any systems engineering focus, let's call it. We've always been aware of that. As Ivar said, there was the fellow in Russia who wanted to do exactly that. But then on the other hand, as Paul, you'll remember in our volunteer group, when we started to deal with the detail, we realized how sort of elusive the meaning of some things is, and that, you know, that Essence is such a high abstraction, and the checklist items, many of them are high abstractions, that in order to make sense of the use of Essence, it works better if we do stick to the domain of software development. Not that it can't be translated to the others, but I think the checklists would have to be thought through very carefully before one could confirm their kind of generic applicability to any kind of system. And that, in fact, if we were to do that, we may find that we are now lifting Essence to an even higher level of abstraction, and where the detail of, be it software intensive development or mechanical systems or civil systems, that detail would have to, you know, sort of be discovered by people using Essence, and it could only come from them having vast experience in their particular disciplines. So, you know, it's once again the same story, that on the surface, Essence looks like magic, which I totally endorse and support and am still excited about. But we must not forget the devil in the detail.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I can follow up with Barry, since I have the ideas in the same line of thought.
So the intent of this meeting, we've been going an hour, and even though I allocated an hour and a half, I like to try to keep it to about an hour. Our intent here wasn't to solve all the problems, but to kick this off and to get a couple more volunteers involved. And it's great we have Truong and Amir now, and I'm really glad to hear, Amir, you see your value crossing both subgroups. The one An will be leading and the one I'll be leading, because we thought that's the way it would work, and I saw that's really good to hear. So I think the next step is for An and I well, the next step is we're all going to be looking at the comments back on the book. If you haven't got comments in, please review the book and give us comments hopefully within the next few days. And then we'll be moving forward. You'll be hearing from An or I in terms of the next steps. I think this has been really good discussion in all three of the kickoffs. Good ideas here. And as I said, you'll be Amir, you're going to be hearing from both of us. Truong, you're going to be hearing from An, and this has been a good kickoff. And any other comments from anyone before we just end this for today? And Barry, you're going to hang around for Ivar and I to have a side meeting with you afterwards, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's fine. Yes.
Okay. So anything else from An or Truong or Amir? Any other last thoughts or comments?
I think that I said my word, and I'm looking forward to start working and to start to share things, practical things together.
Good.
There have been so much talks that
Yes,
so I think it's really helpful to have on the kickoff meetings. So I think also it's a good idea to start working now on subtractions. I think we already like lots of things to share and to work together.
Good. Truong, any thoughts?
Okay, so I also look forward, especially with Anh, because we know each other. So it's pretty easier for me to work with Anh.
Great. So this is good. I think everybody's ready to jump in and now start to do some real work. So I want to thank you all for attending today, and you'll be hearing from us. So Barry and Ivar, hang around.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very interesting.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.